Don't know if you can tell, but my sweater felted. Everything I kind of have left, the answer is just I don't know. So, and this is the Dagmar jacket, which I finally got the yarn for. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Lene and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, current project, finished projects, planned projects, yarn, anything that comes to mind while I sit here and chat with you all. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. It's been 2 weeks since the last time I podcast. I usually do one every week, so we have a lot to catch up on. But first, before we head into everything else, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing. And what I'm wearing is also something that I finished in the last 2 weeks, and this is my zipper sweater light, which has been a dream project of mine for quite some time. Really ever since I finished my first zipper sweater, which is really close to 2 years ago now, I think, yeah. So this has been a dream project of mine for 2 years, and I've had the yarn for this for over a year, so this has been in the planning for a really long time, and now it's finally here. I can finally wear it. It's amazing, but I have had a few hurdles to get here, but we'll get to those later. First, I'll just say that this is the zipper sweater light. I've made it in Drops Daisy in the color moss green, I think, and I used about 528 or something grams of yarn to make this in the size medium. And I also have a zipper. This is a zipper from Selfmade, I think it's called, in the same color or very close to the same color as my zipper sweater, and this zipper is originally 35 centimeters long, and then I have customized it to fit my sweater and my size perfectly by following Kimmy Munkholm's video or her tutorial over on YouTube. That's my go-to every time I'm doing these zipper sweaters. Luckily for me, she's Danish, so it's easier for me to understand, but I highly recommend her. Her videos are really great. She explains it really well, even with the subtitles, which I still have to use because Danish isn't that easy to understand, but that's all of like the details. And then some of my challenges. I don't quite remember where we were 2 weeks ago. So much has happened since then, but I have finished the sweater. Here she is. I have a video dedicated to this sweater as well, if you're interested in following the journey of making it and more details. But yeah, I don't know how much of it I've knit since last time, but it's all finished being knit and it fits kind of exactly how I want it to fit. I'm really happy with the length. It stops at like right at the beginning of my pants, which is where I like it to. I wish the sleeves were just a tiny bit longer, and this is, even though I added multiple centimeters, I don't know, but the sleeves for the zipper sweater are short on this one maybe, but they are a bit short on me. Since I almost always wear it open, I can pull on the sleeves a bit. This will just sit a bit wider on my shoulders, and then I get the length I want, but the sleeves are a bit short, and I had maybe the biggest problem during this whole process when I went to wash it. I have been a bit wary of Daisy ever since I made my levitate wrap, which felted just the tiniest bit in the washing machine. Not badly at all. None of like the regular fabric, I don't know what to call it, is felted, just a tiny bit on the ends, on the button bands, and where the button band double knitted bands meet the regular knit body, just a tiny bit of felting, but you really have to look at it to see. So I've been a bit wary, so I've made a swatch in Daisy in the gauge I use the most, just to see how that would felt, if gauge would affect it any, because the levitate wrap is on a bigger gauge, and also with mohair, so I wanted to test Daisy on its own. in the gauge I use the most, which is on 4mm needles. So here's my swatch. This I washed in the washing machine on the regular wool program, and it's fine. I have talked about this in a previous podcast, I think. This is totally fine. There's no felting. It's still super stretchy, super soft, really lovely. So when this was finished, I was nervous because I had kind of a bad experience, but not like super bad, but I was a bit wary. But I also had this swatch, which isn't just Daisy, same gauge, same everything that I had washed, and not a problem, no felting at all. And I also prefer to wash my knits in the washing machine. That's easier. I know how to do that. It's quicker because of the centrifuge. So I decided to go for it, to wash it in the washing machine. And I don't know if you can tell if I do like a super close up, or maybe if I do it like next to each other. Don't know if you can tell, but my sweater felted a tiny bit. But like with the Levitate wrap felted less than this. But like with the Levitate wrap, I don't think it is super obvious. I don't think you can look at the sweater and be like, oh, that's felted. It also didn't mess with the fit. I had hoped that the sleeves would grow a bit, which since it started to felt, they definitely didn't. But they also did not shrink. The body did not shrink when it comes to the collar here, which is always super tight when you knit it. That grew and just relaxed a bit. So I'm really happy that nothing shrank and that the look of it, you still see the knit stitches. I have to say that they are a bit like more blended. I don't know, like blurred, all the knit stitches. They're not as easy to see, but I don't think it's really hard to capture on camera. You can see it more in real life, but it really didn't make that big of a difference. I still will never wash Daisy again in the washing machine because I just feel lucky that I've been this lucky so far and that it hasn't gone worse and felted more. And yeah, it's just not worth it. I'm going to learn to do hand washing for all my knits using Drops Daisy. But I was really mad and sad about it when it happened because I didn't fully know how it was going to be in the end. But once it dried, I tried it on. It still fits. It's comfortable. The yarn is still super soft, like Daisy is. And yeah, it's just still super comfortable to wear. And my intention with the zipper sweater was always for it to be more of an outdoorsy sweater, and an outdoorsy sweater being just the tiniest bit felted is not the end of the world. In all honesty, it's probably going to make it a better outdoorsy sweater because it's going to be warmer, a bit harder for the wind to get through, but I don't want all of my knits to like almost felt, so I'm not going to do it again. But it happening to this, it could be worse, so I'm just trying to remind myself of that instead of digging myself down. But yeah, that's the zipper sweater. I also have had some question on if I have Daisy pills a lot, I've heard, and I've had questions if it pills less since it's a bit felted, and I haven't tried it non-felted, but I'd have to say probably not, because this is with a week of wearing it. Given I wear my knit a lot, I wear knits every single day, this has been worn a lot, but this is more than the usual amount when it comes to knit sweaters after just a week, so definitely still pills a lot, and I am struggling a bit justifying my love for Daisy because Daisy is lovely to knit with, it is lovely to wear, it's really soft, but I don't know if it holds up that well and if it's worth it in the long run because it felts easily, which is negative for me because I like to wash my knits in the washing machine. It peels a lot, which probably means the yarn won't hold up that well and it will be easier to wear holes through it. And yeah, I just don't know if it's the best yarn, and I know Drops also carries Lima, which I have had 0 issues with. It also can pill a lot, but not this much this quickly, so I might be using Daisy sometimes going forwards, but I don't think I'll use it that much because it just pills a crazy amount and it feels really easy, and it is a lot to keep up with a sweater or something you make just for it to pill. So that's kind of where I'm at with Daisy, but it's still a really lovely yarn to work with. But that's it for what I'm wearing, and we can move into my whips. And as always, we'll start with the wedding dress, and the wedding dress is starting to stress me out just a little bit because what's left now I'm really uncertain of, like the length of everything, and if I want there to be like how I want to bind off, if I want there to be any details on the mohair skirt on the wedding dress at the bottom, if I want, everything's kind of up in the air and I don't know how I want the beads to look. Everything I kind of have left, the answer is just I don't know. So it's starting to stress me out just the tiniest bit, but I know everyone around me is a lot more stressed because there is quite a lot left and I'm not probably working on it enough because I also have so many other projects. But this week I did work on it. I didn't force myself, but I was kind of a bit stern with myself and told myself, you have to work on this, you have to get this done. I had 2 big-ish goals for the last 2 weeks, and that was to one, try the wedding dress on because it has a lot more parts now than last time I tried it on, and I wanted to see how everything kind of played together and how it would look together. So I really wanted to try it on, and my goal number 2 was to finish weaving in or sewing in all of the pearl beads on the belt, and I accomplished both of those goals. First off, here is the belt. The belt wasn't done when I tried it on because I finished this late last night, but this is finally all done, which is great. It feels really great to be able to just cross some things off the list, even though the list is just growing, but that feels really good. So this is all done, all ends, all everything. So this is completely ready to go. And another thing I have kind of crossed off the list is, of course, the sleeves I talked about last time. Still need to do the ends on that, but I feel a lot closer to having something now that 2 of the things are done. Like, I can kind of see where I am headed. And then, of course, I got to try on the wedding dress. I visited one of my friends. She's also a knitter, so one of the reasons I tried it on was also to be able to show her. So that gave me a bit of an extra push also for sewing in the beads. That was really nice to be with another knitter that could like push me and also understand how much time everything takes. So that really gave me a lot of motivation, and also, of course, me being able to try it on gave me a lot of motivation. And it was so amazing to see all of the different pieces coming together, seeing the wedding dress and the mohair skirt grow, and they're getting quite long. I still have a ways to go, but definitely a home stretch, and seeing how the mist sleeves played together with the mohair skirt, and also being finally able to see the belt with pearls and how that adds to it all. And I am really happy with how it all looks together. I'm really excited to see it going forwards. I think after seeing it with the belt and the mohair, that I'm probably going to add some pearls to the mohair too. Probably much less, like just a few here and there really scattered, but just to tie those in as well. I think that would look good. And of course I'm also going to do something on the wedding dress, but I don't know. And then after getting home, I have also worked a little bit on the wedding dress after I finished the belt, which was my main goal. But I did do this much on the wedding dress last night, so it grew a tiny bit. I just wanted to finish a skein, so that's where I'm at now. But I don't know what my next like big goal or like bigger goal should be, because I can always have those goals like finish a skein here, finish a skein there, but I also want like a bigger goal to work forward to, like finishing the whole belt. So I've been thinking like either to finish the mohair skirt or maybe finish the wedding dress like lengthwise, figure out how I want to bind off, figure out how I want it to look in the end and the length and everything, either for the mohair skirt or for the wedding dress. And then third, to do beads on this probably, which I'm really up in the air about because I have these ones. That's probably going to make a lot of noise, but I have these ones, which I have been using for the belt. I've used these ones, I think, like the biggest one of the small ones I've used for the belt, and then I thought to do maybe a mix of the 3 different small sizes for the wedding dress, and then the biggest ones for the mohair, because that's already like big and voluptuous, so that fits better. But I've grown a bit like unsure, because I feel like it could be a lot, because these pearls are kind of a lot. So if everything's that could just be a bit busy to look at. So I've also got, I was at a knitting market the weekend I couldn't podcast, last weekend, and I got these beads. They're like glass beads or something. They're see-through white-ish, small. So I also thought that was something I could do on this, maybe to make this a bit more understated, since everything else is so much. But I also wanted to mesh together, so I don't know, maybe I can do a mix, but I'm leaning towards doing just these. I have 2 bags of these, but I don't know, I'm really unsure about it. But I think my goal going forward is going to be either to finish the wedding dress or skirt, like finish it off, bind off, or do beads. I should probably start doing beads because that's what I'm the most unsure about, but I don't know. I would love all suggestions, both on what I should prioritize going forward, on how I should do it, how I should bind off, if there's any details I should have towards the bottom of the wedding dress or mohair skirt. I would love to hear all suggestions, because I don't know, and hearing your suggestions really helped me make up my mind. But that's it for the wedding dress. And then my next oldest project after that is the sweater number 20 that I'm making with my friend. We're having a knit along where we're trying to knit at the same time, we don't want to rush like ahead of the other, so we're trying to match each other's knitting pace. And I think last time I podcasted I had the back done. Maybe I'd started on the shoulder. I think it's a bit hard to remember, but I didn't have a lot done, so I've done almost all of this in the front these last weeks. This was my traveling project for the first part of my travels last week. First I went to visit my aunt and my twin cousins, my aunt and uncle and my twin cousins, so this was what I brought with me then. And for the first time ever, I think, I underpacked when it comes to knitting. I'm usually a overpacker. I pack with me all of my projects, but I was trying to travel light, so I only brought with me this. And since I'm trying to match my friends, or we're trying to match each other knitting pace, she didn't have that much time to knit, so I couldn't really knit that much on this, so I packed too little. But I got really far. I finished one shoulder and knit the other one almost completely done on the train on the way there. And then once I was there, I did connect the front yokes here and did just a couple of rounds. You do like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds max before you join in the round, which I also have done just barely. The friend I'm knitting this with, I met her last weekend and she did catch up to me. I think she's finished her front yoke now, so when she caught up to me I started knitting again, and that's when I connected in the round. But now this is on hiatus until she's ready to knit again. I have even put it on as much as a hiatus that I have removed the needles just to remove the temptation, because this is a really fun knit. As you can see, there is a lot of structure. There are all these cables with all these like different repeats. Some you do every other, or they're just everyone has a different number of rows in between when you do the cable, so you always have something to pay attention to, which I don't usually like, because I like my mindless knits that I can knit on anywhere, anytime. But it's been really fun and engaging, and I also love the way this looks and how cozy it is. It's going to be really thick though, because I'm knitting with a thick yarn, Drops Alaska, which is already really thick and warm, and it's also cables, so it just takes up more yarn and makes it a bit thicker. But it's also oversized enough now. It's also a bit more scrunched up, but once it's blocked and the cables bloom a bit more, this will be super cozy and oversized. So I think I could almost wear it as like my outer layer since it's so warm. So I'm really excited about it. I also have done the color on this just because I could not resist. I really wanted to work on this, and I thought, okay, I can do the color. And I also wanted to figure out if I liked the thick color or if I wanted the small one, so I would also have time to go back and change it. But I really enjoy the look the wider one has. I think it suits everything else. It's kind of a big, bold, chunky knit, so I think a big, bold, chunky neckline really suits it. So that's where I'm at with my sweater number 20. As I said, I'm knitting this in Drops Alaska. I think the color is named Sand, and I have not done a gauge swatch, but I'm pretty sure my gauge is close to being spot on. Me and my friend also, I knit quite tightly, especially with structured knits, and she knits loosely, so our sweaters are already like, there's a big difference. I think probably 5 to 10 centimeters difference in how oversized or not oversized it's going to be. So, but I think it's going to be fine either way, because this is a quite oversized sweater, and as I see it right now, it is definitely going to be at least somewhat oversized. So that's my sweater number 20. And then after that, as I said, I did pack not enough at all to go visit my aunt. Luckily, she's also a knitter, so I said to her, I did not pack enough. Do you have something I could help you work on? Do you have some yarn left over that you don't want to work with? And she said, go ahead, just look through my yarn, pick something. So I did, and that ended up being these two skeins. I really like this because they are kind of similar, just one is dark and one is light, and for my twin cousin they're identical, so one is usually wearing something dark and one is wearing something light. So I thought, oh my god, that's perfect, I'm going to make them socks and it's going to fit in perfectly. So I started doing that, and I've already made the first pair, just that I've done one of each. And if you ever thought like the second sock syndrome is real or the second mitten syndrome is real, it's even worse when you have to do 4. But I think it was a great idea to do one of each color, because now I kind of have more motivation to finish, whereas if I've only done one pair in one color, I probably would just give up. But those are my first socks. I don't remember what size I did, but I think I did like 23, 24, something around there, EU size. This is also Tynn Merino Ull from Sandnes garn. Don't know the color names because I just grabbed yarn and got started. And another reason why it hasn't been that awful to work on, now my yarn is super tangled, but another one of the reasons why it hasn't been super terrible to work on is that I have figured out, this is a mess, but I'll deal with that later. I figured out how to do them at the same time. I'm not good enough at doing them at the same time, so I could do the whole sock at the same time, but I figured out that I do the shaft at the same time, so I knit both of the shafts at the same time, and then once I get to the heel and everything, I do it on DPNs. I also got new DPNs this last week because I have lost one of my 4mm DPNs and I want to have a pair of 5 when I do socks. And when I chose what kind of DPNs to get, then I got shorter ones, so I'm used to having 20cm ones and now I have 15, which is way better when it comes to knitting socks. So I do the shaft at the same time and then I do one sock and then the other for the rest, and that really helps because the rest of the socks in tiny sizes is done in like half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, so you don't really feel like you're making that many socks. Of course, having to start again is like the second sock syndrome, but I'm really glad I don't have to cast on and make it from the scratch 4 different times. That's helped a lot. But as I said, I got this yarn from my aunt, and after I'd visited her, so yesterday, she found out that she has a moth problem in her yarn stash and everything, which of course is horrible, but it also makes me worry a bit because I brought some of her yarn. So right now this is living in the freezer and not being knit on. I have heard like you freeze it for 24 hours or 48 hours or something, and then you get it out and then you freeze it again. So I'm busy doing that right now, and I froze it last night and then I got it out just to do this, and then it's going back in the freezer, and I don't know, I'll figure it out, but I'm trying to play it better safe than sorry because I have too much yarn to introduce moths into this. I have some lavender and some cedar tree something to help manage the problem, but now that I know that this comes from a stash that had it, I'm trying to play it really safe. But yeah, that is one of my projects. It's been really fun. I've been really into socks since the last podcast, really, with it being October and it being cold, and with my new DPNs it's also just kind of fun now to knit socks. And then after I'd started those, I went to my friend, she had yarn, also my fiance came and he had brought with him more yarn because after underpacking yarn once I was not going to do it again. So I ended up on the last part of my trip I had packed yarn again, so but I figured out I would rather overpack than underpack. But my next project I cast on is this, and this is the Dagmar jacket, which I finally got the yarn for. I ordered yarn before I did the last podcast, and the yarn was supposed to get there the day I did film the podcast, so it was supposed to get here Friday 2 weeks ago, and then it didn't get here Friday, so I thought, okay, then it's going to get here Monday, and it didn't get here Monday, and it didn't get here Tuesday, and it didn't get here Wednesday. It didn't get here until Thursday, which was so long to wait for yarn when you thought you were going to get it on Friday. And I also really wanted to cast this on, so that was a painful wait, but I finally got the yarn. I have decided to do the Dagmar in Nepal, and for this one I even swatched with some other Nepal I had in my stash, just a little scrap yarn I had. So I have swatched using Nepal, and I make swatches really seldomly, so I'm not that great at measuring my gauge on swatches either, but it looked okay and it measured kind of okay. I think I might be a bit off, but not that much that it's a problem. I'm okay with me being a bit off. So I've started. There is quite a big difference in the color I chose to swatch with and the color I ended up with, but the Dagmar is going to be a lot of work. I've also figured out lately that I like darker colors on me a bit better than the super light ones. I also really enjoy this, but with it being so much work, it's going to take me so long. I wanted this to be able to be really a staple in my wardrobe, for me to be able to wear it wherever, whenever, with whatever. And dark grey or like a neutral of any sort is safer if you want to wear it with whatever and wear it whenever. And I was a bit afraid that the grey I chose would be too dark. I didn't choose the light grey because I have figured out that I like lighter colors, and I didn't choose the dark grey because I thought that's going to be too dark for the structure. I think this is called medium grey, but it looked quite dark online, so I was a bit afraid. But I think it is kind of perfect. It is dark, but you can definitely see all of the different structures. You can see the pearl ribbing here, you can see these twists here, I don't know what they're called. You can see the honeycomb cables here. You can see everything, so I'm really happy with it. Also, I was trying to decide between Alaska and Nepal, and I'm really happy I chose Nepal. I have loved working with Alaska, and I think it's a great yarn for this, and also because I really like how it holds up with all of these structures and cables and how that looks. And it's been really fun to try a new yarn, but I love Nepal. I've used a lot of Nepal, and Nepal is definitely softer. I think that's because the Alaska is just 100% wool, whereas this is 65% wool and 35% alpaca. I think since it is a bit softer, that maybe the structure isn't as sharp, but I think that's fine for this. It still is plenty sharp. You can see it very clearly what the structure is, but I think it might have been just a bit sharper in Alaska because that feels like a more structured yarn to me. But I'm really happy I chose Nepal because it is softer to work with and softer to touch. And since I want this also to be a cozy cardigan, I think that's nice for it to just be like something to cozy up in, whereas this is going to be more of a like warm sweater that I wear when it's super cold, and maybe like an outside layer. Other things about the Dagmar, I've also chosen to size up for many reasons. I hope that me sizing up, I've sized up one size too large. I hope that that means that I'll get a super cozy, oversized, nice cardigan to like snuggle up with in the winter months. That's my big hope. And then I've also sized up because I think my gauge was a bit off, just a tiny bit small, and I didn't want this to be like tight fitting. And then my third reason is that with Petiteknit, especially her structured knits, they fit me a bit more tight fitting than they're supposed to, or than they look in the pictures, and I really wanted this to be oversized. I didn't want it to just look oversized in the pictures and then fit me like, also this, as you can see, it fits my arms. There is no like loose fabric here, and it is loose fabric here on Petiteknit's version, and I wanted this to have loose fabric everywhere. I hope I'll be able to do that. So that's why I sized up, just trying to learn from my previous mistakes. They're not mistakes, but for this one it was really important to me for it to be oversized, and I think it will end up being oversized. That's what I hope. it's looking good so far, I think. I'm doing the back yoke. I think I have one of these left, like that much left, I think, before doing shoulders and everything. And I love how it looks, and one of my favorite things is how they look in the back here, because you can't really see, you can see the pearl stitches here, but you can't see them where you cable, which I love. There's so many fun things that I love about this, so really excited, and it's fun to work on. It has been a bit neglected since I got back home, because there's just been so many other things that I've also been trying to knit on all at the same time, but now I think I'm going to have some time to prioritize it. I have bought myself a bit of a better conscience when it comes to the wedding dress. I still should knit more on that, but I think I'm going to prioritize this for just a little bit. But yeah, that's it for the Dagmar jacket. And then my last active project. I have a lot of active projects. I don't know what happened, but I just can't stop myself from casting new things on, but I just dropped a few stitches. This is my last active project, and it's nothing super exciting. This is, I have tried to figure out what it's called in English. I think it's called a felted seating mat, Sitteunderlag in Norwegian. So my goal going forward, it's a new goal of mine, that I just figured out I'm going to set myself yesterday, I think, or the day before that. I want to clear out my scrap yarn every time I finish a project. My leftover yarn or the scraps just end up in a shelf next to my knitting nook, and that shelf is overflowing now. I don't have space to put in any more yarn. If I finish a project now, the leftover yarn won't fit, and it's right next to my knitting nook, so I sit there looking at it constantly before I've had my scrap yarn in something like this. So it's been up here where I'm not here all the time, so it's not been bothering me. I've not been thinking about it all the time, but now it's like right next to me all the time, so it's been bothering me, which I think is probably a good thing. So set myself a goal to be able to clear out at least as much as possible of my scraps, and I think I could probably clear them all out. I just have to get creative to clear out the smallest things. So I've asked for tips over on Instagram, got a lot of good tips. I would still love to hear any and all tips you guys have, because I'm trying to get it all out. But this was a really safe place to start. It takes no thinking. I've done something like this before. This is also Drops Nepal, except for this pink here. This is alpaca wool. It's also a bit thinner, but I thought that would be fine. I had a lot of small scraps in Nepal, as you can see, and Nepal is a thick yarn. I don't know anything I could do with it with this little yarn. I think it was 20 to 30 grams of each color. Here you can also see the same leftover that I made this with. Now I'm all out of it, so I don't know if this is long enough to be felted yet. So right now this is waiting as well, but I have at least one project in Nepal now, so if my Dagmar ends up with any scraps, that will go straight into this. So I feel great for having started, and I've already gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colors and yarns out of my stash, which felt great, and it was also done in an afternoon. Highly recommend this. It is a free pattern from Sandnes garn. I'll see if I can find it and link it in the description, because it is a really great project. I'm also using 5.5mm needles. But yeah, that's where I've started, and I don't know where to go from here. Most of my scraps are in like DK weight or fingering weight, and I could probably make a blanket or something with them, just scraps, no thinking, just doing. But I always feel with my scraps in fingering weight and DK weight that most of it could like turn into a garment. It could be socks, it could be a tiny blouse for a baby. And then I feel this pressure to like make it into the most practical thing that scrap could be, and then I get lost just thinking about it. So I'm going to try to think less and just do when it comes to my scraps, but I don't know. I did make a snake for my son also about 2 years ago, and that was really great for scrap busting. I was better at scrap busting 2 years ago, but that is a snake you just knit in the round. I think it's 40 stitches or something, and in between each colored shift you do a little bit of like grey or white or something, so it looks cleaner. And all of my DK weight scraps I got to use on that snake, so that was a really great project. I might do something like that again. Also, for my son's birthday I did those stuffed animals. That's also great for scraps, so I think I might do things like that. Probably I'm going to do a lot of socks and baby items as well. But yeah, that's my goal going forward. I would love to hear tips if you have done some of the same. What are your favorite like specific patterns when it comes to stash busting? And I'll dare share my tips and tricks and favorites when it comes to stash busting as well as I work on this stash busting project. I think I'll do a little bit here and there in the next month, and then once I have time, maybe in December, maybe in January, maybe in March, after I'm done with the wedding dress, I'll do a whole month just dedicated to scraps, and I have to plan going into that. But if you're interested in joining me in a scrap knit along, let me know. Also, if you're interested in joining a Dagmar call, let me know, because I'm doing a knit along for the Dagmar as well. We have a group chat on Instagram if you're interested. But yeah, those are all of my current project, and then I also have finished 2 projects in these last 2 weeks, and one of them, I think both of them, I was working on last time I podcasted, and the first thing I finished is this. I don't know if I want to unravel it all, but this is the Sophie shawl. As you can see, it is a lot bigger. This is the biggest version of the Sophie shawl. I can't remember how much yarn it took me, but almost 300, between 250 and 300 grams of alpaca wool in this dusty pink, old pink color. This is the 3rd Sophie shawl I've made, and I'm thinking once for my grandma, once for my other grandma, and once for my mom. But I still have 100 grams left of the alpaca wool in this color, so I was thinking I might do like a modified Sophie shawl with those 100 grams. That will just be a super small Sophie shawl. That could also be a Christmas gift. I'm just trying to get as many Christmas gifts out of the way as possible. We're nearing Christmas and I've not planned enough, but I have actually done 3 Christmas gifts now, so that's better than usual. And I have to remind me to go through my stash and find yarn I can use for like beanies or mittens or socks or something, because I need to start actually figuring it out. Please remind me. But that's the first thing I finished. And then I have finished my Sunday socks, which I'd done like this much on last time I podcasted, and then I lost the needle. But since I got new needles, that was actually really fun to knit with. I've done both of my socks. I think I did almost both socks in just a day, because once I got started it was just really, what do you call it? It was really hard to stop. I really like them. I still have to weaving ends and wash them. I have worn them just a little bit and they're fantastic, they're warm, they're perfect for the upcoming months, and hopefully this will give me the last bit of motivation I need to actually start my penny socks, which have been my dream socks now for I think 4 years. I've also had the yarn for 4 years, so it's just crazy, but these are my Sunday socks. I also have 120 grams left, so I have enough yarn to knit my son 2 more pairs of socks that he can use like in the years going forward. So I think I'll do that. I think I'm going to take all the motivation that October is giving me and my new needles and everything, and I'm just going to make socks. I'm going to make a lot of socks. That's what I'm going to do going forward. But here are my socks. I love them. They're amazing. And hopefully they will last me longer than my last Sunday socks, which I wore through in a month or 2. But these are in the yarn Perfect, if I didn't say. Which is wool and nylon. My last Sunday socks were in Lima, which is just wool and alpaca. So this is in an actual sock yarn, so hopefully that will help me. But yeah, those are also all of my finished projects, and then I have gotten a bit of yarn. I did go to a Drops superstore this last week. I had to get something there, and then I also went to knitting, what do you call it, knitting market something. Actually at the knitting market I only got these pearl beads, glass beads, seed beads, I don't know what to call it. I only got 2 bags of these, which I'm really happy about, that I didn't get tempted by all the yarn there. But when I visited my friend, I also was at her yarn store, the Drop Superstore, and I knew that I was getting Flora in white because I am hoping to be able to knit my fiancé a Melange sweater man for his birthday. That's in under a month. I'm beginning to be a bit stressed about it because I still haven't started, but I needed to get that yarn. I've got the other color another time. I've gotten it in like batches because I don't want him to know that I'm making it. That's making it even harder because I'm trying to make this like incognito without him figuring out. I don't know how to do it. I might have to just knit in the night. Hopefully I'll be able to start this evening or something, but I got this yarn for him, and then I have the other yarn for him in another bag. I think I got 350 grams. And then while I was there, I figured out that I also want to make my son a porcelain sweater this year. I made myself one last year, and I also used these colors in Flora. So when I was already buying them, I just bought a few more. So I would have yarn to knit him a porcelain sweater. And then they also had sale on Sunday in this lovely color. I just could not get past it. Especially since it was on sale. So I think I got 2 skeins of this to make a hipster hat or a weekend hat for myself, because I need more hats. I don't make any hats for myself, they all end up being my son's, so hopefully this will end up being mine. And also the color was just amazing. So I got more yarn, and that's of course on top of the Dagmar, which I also got yarn for the Dagmar, which I think was 17 skeins of Nepal. But they're all planned for, and especially the yarn I got for my fiancé's sweater have been planned for a long time, and I'm just buying it in batches. But now hopefully I won't get any more yarn for the rest of the year. I have yarn for all of my projects that I know I have need to do, or I should do, or I've planned to do. So hopefully no more yarn for me, and also hopefully I'll be able to make my fiancé's sweater. If you have any tips on how to hide what you're knitting on, or where to hide your knitting, or where to go to knit so that he won't find out, I would greatly appreciate any and all tips, because I don't know how I'll be able to make that happen. His birthday is, I think, in the first week of November. Luckily he's gone like that. The week leading up to his birthday, he'll be completely gone, so I have that week to knit wherever and whenever I have the time, but I need to get quite far. It's a sweater on 4mm needles, so I need to get going. But I think that's all I had, and that's all the babbling I'm going to do. I aim for what I have done the last 2 weeks, and now I think we should weave in a couple of ends. I don't want to grow my basket of shame, so we'll try to get through all of the ends on the 2 new projects at least. Starting off, we'll do the socks, because I really want to be able to wear these right now, and if I won't have the time to do more than weave in ends on one project, I want it to be this. The Christmas gift can wait. It's not in, like, it can wait. I still have months and months until I'm going to give that away, or not months and months, but I have time. I was a bit better, not last week, but the week before that, at weaving in ends throughout the week as well, but this week has just been busy with everything. I've been trying to get knit and everything else, so I haven't had the time, or haven't felt like I had the time to weave in ends, but hopefully that's going to get a bit better, because I really want to weave in ends and get done with my basket of shame. I did weave, or I don't know, sew in buttons on one of my son's jacket last week, so I got something done. That was nice. And I also wove in ends on this, so I did do something, just not enough maybe, but hopefully that's getting better going forward. I really wanted to, and also buttons and everything, because I still have a ways to go when it comes to buttons. The twins also have their birthday in November, and I've asked my aunt what they want, if they wanted anything knit, and she said that they wanted, what's it called? The Selmas Sleepsuit, which is, I don't have the yarn for it, so I might have to get yarn for if I decide to do that. And also, it's in November, and I'm making my fiancé a sweater, so I'm starting to just not have that much time in terms of anything, but I don't know. I'm going to start making my fiancé sweater first, and then see how much time that's taking me, because it's his 30th birthday, so I really want to be able to make him his sweater, and then I might be making the Selmas Sleepsuit, but I also think it might not happen for their birthdays, but I think that should be fine. I don't think you necessarily have to have something finished for our kid's birthday necessarily. Selmas Sleepsuits are also for winter, and it's not that wintry where they live yet, so it could wait a little bit, so I don't know, but then I might have to get yarn for that as well. I'm going to have a look through my stash again before I order yarn, just to see, but yarn for 2 Selmas Sleepsuits is a lot, so I probably don't have yarn for it, but we'll see. That's kind of where I'm at, and also I have to make some time for the wedding dress in between all of the gift knitting for Christmas and birthdays, so I don't know. Also, all I want to do is knit on sweater number 20 and the Dagmar jacket, so it's hard to find time to prioritize all of my different knits, but I am getting more knitting time now that it's winter and everything is calming down a bit, so that helps. And also my knitting motivation is higher since it's winter and cold, and I just want to sit inside and be cozy. So hopefully I'll be able to knit everything I want to and give all the gifts I want to, but I might have to turn down my expectations and to maybe not be able to give all the gifts I want to give on time. I don't know, I'd rather give a gift I'm happy giving a bit late than give something I'm not happy with on time. I don't know if that's just me or if that's how anyone else feels. Please let me know what you would rather have. Would you rather get a gift on time or get a better gift maybe but a bit late? I don't know how anyone else feels about it, but I think more about the end project than necessarily the date it's getting given. Let's see. I only have 3 more ends to weave in, but I don't know if I'm going to weave in any more on this podcast. I might just take it with me and do at a later time because I have other things to do as well. And yeah, I'm also just not that into weaving in ends. I don't want to sit and do it for that long at a time, so I think I should just get better at doing like one end here and one end there, and then if I do like all the ends on something one day or like half of it or at least just one, I'd get somewhere, but also that's quite hard because then I have to like interrupt what I'm doing to weave in ends. But I don't know what would be easier, but I want to get better at least weaving in ends, except from just here, because if I just weave in ends here, I don't know if I'll ever catch up, and my goal is to be all caught up by the time the new year hits, so I won't have to carry with me any of my shame into the new year. But then I have to actually start weaving in more ends, or then some more projects than I finish, and right now I'm not quite there, but at least I'm trying to keep up. Let's see. This is the last end I'm going to do. And then I at least have socks now that I can wear, which I'm really excited about. I also, at the beginning of this year, I made myself felted slippers, if that's what it's called, and those failed because the first time they didn't felt enough, and the second time they felted way too much. I also want to make myself another pair because wearing slippers around inside the house, I just think that would be so cozy, and my son has found his and he loves wearing his slippers right now, so it would just be a dream to be able to make for the both of us. I don't know, I'm just really into making socks, slippers, everything like that right now, so while I'm still into it, I'm going to try to make everything that I want. But those are my Sunday socks that I'm really excited. I'm probably going to go put them on right now. But that's everything I had for this week. I hope you had a good time. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. That means the world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!